Alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, I am Tim Murray. Two more NBA playoff games tonight as we get the start of the Oklahoma City Thunder Dallas Mavericks series, as well as the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics series. Game 2 between the Knicks and Pacers tomorrow night. Jalen Brunson doing it again, 40-plus points. Once again, plenty to discuss in what we saw last night to hit on what we will see tonight. 7 o'clock Eastern, Cleveland, Boston. 9:30 Eastern, Oklahoma City and Dallas. But JVT, let's start with this. Oh, boy, you knew it was coming. You knew that defense, when they started playing as well as they did, you knew the tweets were coming. I'm talking to you, Mitch Moss. I knew it. So, revoke Rudy Gobert's Defensive Player of the Year, JVT.
I don't want to do this anymore. Look, flags have been planted. There's no point in having these conversations anymore about it when it comes to this. So I washed my hands of it, essentially, is what I wasn't even interacting with anybody anymore when it came to it yesterday.
He had his phone silenced. But say you still saw my text.
Which one?
I sent you a text and it said JVT's phone is silenced. So you weren't wanting to see from other people. But you responded to me.
Oh, interesting. Maybe my thing was on. I don't know. Oh, you think the notifications thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what happens. Okay. Either way, I've washed my hands of this. Look, if you want to have massive takeaways from a single game sample size as opposed to 82 plus games of data, that's fine. I don't really care anymore. What I do care about is that my Minnesota Timberwolves are up 2-0 in this series. And by the way, let me just throw this out there because I saw a lot of this. There's been a lot of people that believed in this Timberwolves team. Okay, let's pump the brakes on only us. All right. For example, the betting market moved heavily in their direction when the series price got set. So even for just this series, there was a lot of belief.
We said it on the show. They were the chic pick, the popular play. Too trendy.
I didn't yell at Doug Kazarian because I agreed with him, but right, he brought that up, hey, maybe it's a trendy team, and I was like, get out of here with that. I was like, a lot of these trendy teams ended up being the right side, and you know what? Sometimes you're right, and sometimes markets are wrong when it comes to the way they rate certain teams, and that's kind of been the case here for Minnesota. We'll go over the past and what they've done here in the postseason, but just zoom out, not even game to game. Obviously, the market was incorrect the way that it priced that series against the Phoenix Suns. And then maybe incorrect when the way it priced this series against the Denver Nuggets should have been much closer to essentially giving home court. So pretty incredible what we've seen here so far. That series is over, though.
There have been 5 teams in NBA history that have come back from 0-2 hole, losing both games 1 and 2 on their home floor. 1969, Lakers versus the Warriors. 1994, Rockets versus Suns. 2005, Mavericks versus Rockets. 2017, Celtics versus Bulls. And something that'll make you smile, 2021, Clippers over Mavericks. Do the defending champs, now 4-1 to come back and win this series, do they have a shot?
Oh, of course. I would never... We've seen a lot of crazy things in the world, right? So I would never sit back and go, nope, team's done, toast, kaput, we're all over here. You get 3 days off until Friday to get ready for Game 3. That's 3 days to game plan. That's 3 days for Jamal Murray's calf to feel a little bit better. And I think that when you look at how good Denver is and can be, they deserve the benefit of the doubt that they're going to come out with better effort. The thing that was weird about yesterday, and I even tweeted this out, which was, it wasn't even so much the scheme, Tim, right? That game got so out of hand almost so quickly that Denver, first off, didn't really get to get into their game plan, it seemed, in any way, shape, or form. And the meltdown mentally from a Denver team that I thought could not be flapped. I thought they were unflappable. And yet you see
Michael Malone running onto the floor.
Yes, which, by the way, officiating a theme. We can get to that momentarily. But, yeah, Michael Malone running onto the floor to get into the face of an official. Jamal Murray not only complaining after almost every single play, but then throwing stuff onto the court, attempting one time and then actually succeeding the other. It seemed like every single play, Denver was more worried about the way the game was being officiated than realizing, hey, guys, it's playoff basketball. This has been happening for a while now. They're going to let you get physical, deal with it, and move on. And instead, it really got to them, and this game got out of hand so quickly that they never really got back into it. Even in the fourth quarter, where I think they cut it to 17, if I remember correctly. I think it was the lowest it got, and you thought, ooh, maybe this is it. Nope. They just stretched it back out. I thought that was the weirdest part about this. So you get 3 days to collect yourself, calm down, and take one of these games in Minnesota. Like, it's not insurmountable, and who knows? Maybe they take both of them in Minnesota. So I would say absolutely. This Denver team is not done by any stretch. I hope they're done. I hope they're cooked. I hope the fork is in them, and I hope they get swept. See you later. But I would never sell on a team that is as good as the Denver Nuggets are.
Just scrolling through, I mean, this is a team held to 80 points, down 61-35 at the half, 80 points, season low for the Denver Nuggets. This just doesn't happen to this team, at least the past couple of years, right? And, you know, we'll get into it. We'll dive into this series a little bit more in hour two because we want to get some thoughts certainly on Boston, Cleveland, and Dallas, Oklahoma City, as those two games are scheduled tonight. But this has been a Denver team, and we talked about it a little bit during the Lakers series, where it just, something seems a bit off. And, you know, to me, JVT, it does feel like maybe yesterday was the head where it came, where it ultimately led to, but Jamal Murray hit the game winner in game 2, hit a series winner in game 5, but if you kind of take those away, he has not been playing all that well. Jokic has been doing his thing. Michael Porter Jr. has had his games, but Jamal Murray has really been kind of up or down, and he was horrendous last night.
Yeah, no, like that's part of what we talk about with the calf, right? I don't think the calf has been fully healthy. I think that has really bothered him. And when you play in a series where it is Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell and other guys along the perimeter, it's not going to be as stout. But we all saw the clip, right? It's Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jaden Daniels. That's like 6'7" and 6'9" of gangly physical limbs that are not giving him any inch to breathe. And that's really hard. And again, we also saw in that clip, not reacting well to the physicality the Timberwolves are bringing to this series. So I think it's fair to say that Jamal Murray has not been good. We should also, lest we forget, who else hasn't been good? Nikola Jokic hasn't been good in this series. Like, flat out. He just has not been good. And you could attest the defense of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Naz Reid was awesome on him yesterday, too. The team as a whole was great. But if you're going to be, as we have called him, as I have called him, and rightfully so, the best player in the world, the guy who is going to win 3 MVPs, you yourself need to be better. You yourself need to press the action a little bit more when your running mate Jamal Murray is not performing at a very high level. You need to stop turning the ball over. You need to be more efficient. This, what is it? Heavy lies the crown. Like, this is it, man. Like, if you're going to win multiple championships, this is what you're going to do here. So I think Nikola Jokic, just as much as Jamal Murray, deserves a ton of blame and criticism for these first 2 games of this series.
16 points last night for Nikola Jokic. He did have 16 boards, 8 assists, but 16 points when you think about a pre-flop over-under we talked about last night with the Rudy Gobert sidelining, or him being out. The number went off at 30.5. Johnny Lazarus going to join us here in a couple of minutes. He will be live from Madison Square Garden as we get game 1 on the ice, or game 2, between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers. That game going to get underway around 7 o'clock Eastern. And game 1 of the Dallas-Colorado series gets going tonight. So we will get some thoughts on the night on the ice. Indiana and New York, as we all know, lots of controversy at the end of that game. Biggest takeaway, if you want to remove the officiating, which we will certainly get to, was there a big takeaway from you, one way or the other? Both you and I sit in pocket with series price on series spread, on the New York Knicks at -1.5. Feel okay about it? Feel a little worried about it? Where did you ultimately land?
I mean, you feel good because they got the win, right? That's all that matters. Who cares? Who cares how they win? Yeah. Who cares how they win? They win. So I think the takeaway is twofold here. First off, offensive rating for the New York Knicks in that game, over 120. What do we talk about with Indiana coming into this series?
Stinks defensively.
Your defense has not been good, and your defense is not good. And again, yesterday, Jalen Brunson getting to his spots, doing what he wants.
21 in the fourth quarter.
Different matchups didn't really happen. So maybe at some point we see Pascal Siakam on him, but there's nobody else that's really going to stop Jalen Brunson. Your defense is not good. Tim, you've got the box score in front of you. How many points from Tyrese Halliburton?
6.
Yeah, a 3-pointer in the first quarter was 3 of those points, right? We watched it happen together.
The one and then the one right before the end of the half. He had 0 points in the second half.
And this is, I don't want to say it's some of his fault, it's some not. We've talked about this before. His shooting percentage since getting injured has been abysmal. He has been shooting under 30, about 30% from 3 since he suffered that really serious hamstring injury. He has been nowhere near the same player efficiency-wise since he got hurt. And if he's not going to be that guy, and you're going to play this way defensively, It's just not like, and again, I get it. You played hard, you covered, you stayed inside of the number, you only lost by 4. But over the course of a best of 7, if those two are going to be constants, and they have been for a long time now, Tyrese Halliburton not playing well and your defense being subpar, like you asked, like how you feel about the series, I think you feel exactly how you felt coming into it. It was a close game. But if you're not going to play defense and your best player's not going to show up, are you really that, like, do you lack confidence that New York's going to win this series?
No. I don't think, I think the depth does concern me quite a bit with the Knicks.
They play 48 minutes each. Who cares? Let's go. Fine.
Hartenstein doesn't play 48 minutes. He only played 36 last night. Everyone else pretty much.
And that is 44, obviously a fair
48,
one.
44, 42. And the Pacers bench, man, I mean, they have, we mentioned it in the Bucks closeout game, game 6 of that series, how the Pacers bench dominated what the Bucks produced there. Same thing happened last night. You had 3 points from the bench for the New York Knicks, and you had 46 from the Pacers. But get it done. Jalen Brunson did his thing again. A little help from the refs, a little bit.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Madison Square Garden was lively last night. Will it be lively tonight with the New York Rangers on the ice? Johnny Lazarus live from MSG will join us next. It is VSiN PrimeTime.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Got a new spring special for you, folks. VSiN Pro subscriptions, usually a full calendar year if you pay for it in full. Guess what? We're going to add on 2 months for free for less than $200. That's right, 14 months of a VSiN Pro subscription, all if you use the promo code PRIME. That's PRIME to unlock the deal. Course, access to everything we do. That would include the betting splits, which people like to use every single day, live streams, and one of my favorite reads every day, our daily write-ups from Johnny Lazarus, who joins us today, right now, about the National Hockey League. So get that and more, vsin.com/subscribe. Use the promo code PRIME.
It is a great time. Certainly for New York City last night at Madison Square Garden. What a right down the middle. Great call by the Stripes. No controversy whatsoever.
I want to cause controversy. I want to ask Johnny a question.
Ooh. You want to do it right now?
Yeah, where's he at?
Johnny Lazarus joins us right now on our progressive guest line at JLazzy23 on Twitter. He is at Madison Square Garden. The calm before the storm is what they like to call it, where the New York Rangers up 1-0 are a home dog tonight. What would you like to ask, Mr. Lazarus?
Johnny, better environment at Madison Square Garden, Knicks or Rangers?
Why would you do that to me off the top? Come on. Full transparency, I've only been to one Knicks playoff game. It was game 1 of the first round, and it was electric, I do got to say. But also, I'm gonna give basketball the unfair advantage because they're scoring every 30 seconds, so there's more eruptions, where in hockey, you're kind of on the edge of your seat waiting for something to happen, and when it finally does happen, you erupt, and it's electric, and it's incredible. So they're different, but they're both just unbelievable. I mean, Knicks fans, though, they are a different breed, because the Knicks fan base, and I'm included in it, I'm a big Knicks fan, we have been watching loss after loss after loss basically my entire life. And if we're on the right side of a controversial call, we will take it, because we've been on the other end way too many times. So I know you guys mentioned that off the top. And Madison Square Garden, nothing like it, no matter which sport you're watching.
Well, they're going to be busy, no doubt, working there at Madison Square Garden. We'll see how many more series we have. Right now, the Rangers undefeated this postseason, right? Swept the Washington Capitals, win game 1 against the Carolina Hurricanes. They went off around a -112, -113 or so underdog. Well, Carolina was the favorite, I should say. We've seen a little bit of more movement towards Carolina, around -120 or so for the Hurricanes. What's your breakdown of tonight, and do you look at the Rangers as a home dog, as a play here? You can get them as high as around +110.
So this was my best bet of the night, the Rangers money line on home ice. They've been one of the best, the second best actually to be exact, home team in the NHL in the regular season. They had 30 wins at home this year. They've continued that into the playoffs. They're 3-0 at home. The Carolina Hurricanes are 4-12 on the road in the playoffs. dating back to 2022, this team has struggled away from PNC Arena to find ways to win. So the Rangers being underdogs not only once, but twice so far in this series and for the series, to me, is incredibly disrespectful to a team that won the President's Trophy, was the best team in the regular season. They swept in the first round. I don't know if it's ever happened where a President's Trophy winner sweeps in the first round and then is an underdog in the second round. Like, I actually don't think there's a team that's ever had that happen to them before. So, to me, the Rangers, they should not be home underdogs. They should be the favorite tonight, in my opinion. They got the better top-end talent. They got the better power play, the better goalie. And I think the Rangers, if you have a chance to get them as home dogs, you take it because it's not going to last very long.
Johnny, so I always like to talk about in-game wagering when it comes to basketball. And when I was watching this first game between the Rangers and the Hurricanes, my first thought was like, the next time Carolina gets a penalty, am I running to my phone to bet in-game on the Rangers? Their power play is awesome, and I think they're second best in the postseason right now.
8 of 16, right, Johnny?
They're at 45 or 44.4%, I believe. So, just around 50%. I would certainly, if you're looking at a specific player, the Adam Fox power play point over 0.5 points in the power play is a moneymaker during the season for the most part. You can always count on the Rangers to at least have 2 or 3 opportunities in a game. They usually find a way to convert, especially in these playoffs. But that's the one thing that worries me a little bit about tonight's game is Carolina making those adjustments on their penalty kill. The Rangers recognize that they're super aggressive, so they were a little bit higher in the zone to drag the Hurricanes forwards out and create little 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s around the net, which works so well for them. They scored 2 power play goals in a 23-second span. I believe it was 14 seconds in the first one, 9 seconds second one. I might have that other way around. But, yes, it's a safe bet to bet on the Rangers who score when you see a Carolina player going to the penalty box.
And really quickly, Carolina second in the postseason in penalty minutes. Is that a symptom of how they play, or is that just a coincidence?
I'd say that's just a coincidence because they only took 2 in game 1, so you can't really rely on them to take, 3 to 5. And the Islander series, there was a lot more calls, it felt like, in the first round. As you go round by round, the refs put their whistles away a little bit more and more. So I wouldn't say that's something that's, a given. It's more coincidence than anything.
Johnny Lazarus joining us here on VSiN PrimeTime. You can hear the noise in the background. He's at Madison Square Garden. Puck drop around 7 o'clock Eastern time.
Which we have established the environment today is not as good as yesterday. So,
yes. And at JLazzy23, all you Rangers fans, let him know. Maybe just he's tempting you. One more thought here before we look at late night tonight. I've just kind of been enamored just keeping an eye on first period totals. They're always going to be 1.5. The juice is always going to vary. So tonight, you're looking around minus 130 to the under. But that said, Johnny, the Rangers 4-1 to the over in first period so far this postseason. The Hurricanes 5-1 to the over. What would be your hunch of how this game starts? Do we see another flurry of goals like we did on Sunday? 4 goals in the first period? Or is this more of a feeling out process and maybe a lower scoring first period?
I'm so happy you asked this question because first period unders are like they're like my baby, my Nerfy to the baseball people that love the Nerfy. It's that first 20 minutes of a game, exhilarating. You don't have to sweat it out the entire time. You get to enjoy it. And I guess you're not really enjoying it if it's an under, right? You're kind of nervous every time there's a shot. But, I look at this game, and game 1 was a little bit more wide open, a track meet style. I would think that both teams tighten up defensively, especially because both of them were so good defensively all year long. Carolina, to me, they've always been an under team, but for whatever reason in the playoffs, it hasn't been that way. Game 2, though, with these coaches and Rod Brindamore and Peter Laviolette, 2 of the best coaches in the NHL, I imagine they have a little bit more attention to detail on the defensive side of the puck. So I do like the first period under tonight. I might dabble with it myself. I haven't been able to decide just yet if I want to do it. But as my brain keeps churning towards it, I think I will bite the bullet and take it.
All right, Johnny, let's move to the other series. Colorado-Dallas gets started today. Dallas, $1.25 favorite at DraftKings, total 6.5. For a series that went 7 games, I was actually kind of impressed. I thought Dallas thoroughly outplayed Las Vegas. Do you get that sense, and what do you think of them heading into Game 1 and for the series against Colorado?
So similar to last night with Boston and Florida, the Bruins come, right off of Game 7, feeling hot, feeling good. And that's a discussion that's always had when you play against a team that's had a little bit of rest versus a team that's fresh off of Game 7. Colorado, to me, they're so dangerous. Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Kale McCarr, and even Valerie Nichushkin, who had 7 goals in round 1. They have so many different offensive weapons, but this Dallas team doesn't have many holes. that first series against Vegas, that was a tough battle that went 7 games, and the better team ended up winning, right? Dallas has been, arguably the best team in the NHL all year long. I know they're not as, maybe sexy of a team to watch as the Colorado Avalanche, New York Rangers, Florida Panthers, whatever you want to call it. But this Dallas team, to me, they're destined for a Stanley Cup final trip, and I think it starts tonight with Jake Ottinger and net feeling good after Game 7 in Colorado, having a little bit too much rest.
Yeah, you're looking at a total of 6.5 there between Dallas and Colorado. Slightly juiced to the over at some spots. Real quickly before we let you...
Under.
You said under?
Slam that under.
Ooh, okay. Slam the under. Believing in Jake the Great there. Jake Ottinger in goal. Final thoughts before we let you run. Edmonton, Vancouver starts tomorrow night. Right now, Edmonton is a slight road favorite for Game 1 against Vancouver. I imagine a lot of people are going to be taking the Oilers to win this series. What's your thoughts on Edmonton, Vancouver, which starts tomorrow night?
I'm taking the Edmonton Oilers minus 2.5 games in the series. I think they close it out in 5. This Edmonton team is built different. We talked about the power plays before with the Rangers and Hurricanes. Oilers have the number 1 power play in the playoffs at 45%. Their PK is a perfect 100%. They didn't allow one goal when they were shorthanded. Stuart Skinner, showed himself in the first round, and the Oilers goaltending has always been their biggest crutch. This team, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, Evan Bouchard, I mean, you name it. The Oilers have so many different guys that can score goals. Vancouver struggled to create offense against the Nashville Predators, who, while they had a really good year, they aren't as dangerous offensively themselves. So I think Skinner has a much easier time in this series than maybe previously, and the Oilers kind of take it to Vancouver right away and, make this thing end quickly.
At Jay Lazzy 23, he's there at Madison Square Garden. Just a reminder, Ranger fans, he called you out. Said Knicks fans are better. Hey, Johnny, always appreciate it, man.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night. I appreciate it.
There he is, Johnny.
The accurate representation of what Johnny said. Yep.
Yes, 100%. That is exactly what he said. Don't check the tape, just believe us. But his best bet for tonight, he does believe the home team, the Rangers, will take care of business. Speaking of best bets, did I see a First 5 article up on VSiN.com today, courtesy of Jonathan Von Tobel? Best bets for tonight, for some series as well. Right. It is VSiN PrimeTime.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
VSiN.com. Check it out now. We have a lot of great content up on the website, including great Major League Baseball articles from Adam Burke, Zach Cohen, Steve Makinen, and myself, a UFC Fight Night preview from Lou Finicaro, and I'm licking my finger, and that sound you hear, hot off the press. Wes Reynolds and his Wells Fargo Championship Best Bets and Golf Odds. Check it out now. VSiN.com, all part of a really great site that also includes betting tools like the betting splits and more. VSiN.com.
Breaking news. Jared Allen out for tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't think it should come as a big shock, but...
Well, market's up to like 27 now.
Did the market adjust at all? To the officialness of Jared Allen being ruled out? No. I see a 13 out there. I don't know if that is correlated, but...
I think that might be one shop trying to maybe garner some action.
Yes.
As opposed to...
12.5, pretty much market-wide. Celtics and Cavaliers.
I don't think anybody at that shop was like, Jared Allen's out. We got to throw the hook on. Get that thing up to 13.
This from John Ewing, courtesy of Bet Labs. Double-digit favorites in round 2 or later have gone just 3-9 ATS. Celtics are a double-digit favorite.
It does bring up a point that I would like to discuss here. And by the way, the whole market's going to 13 now, too. So you had the hook on with Allen not being out there. Do you know what the Celtics closed in Game 5 against Miami? You know what the number was? 13 and a half. I was going to say, we don't have to do this. It was just come on.
I was trying to run through the memory.
You don't have to get it right. It was just to prove a point. As bad as Cleveland has been, and I wrote about a little bit about this morning on the article, I'm wrestling with the idea that Boston's laying the exact same number they were laying against the Miami Heat team that did not have Jimmy Butler, that was beat to hell and very bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it feels so. Even after that series, which, by the way, like they were 4-1 ATS in the series against Miami, so you can make the argument like, well, they were undervalued in the series. You could make that argument. They were only covered by just under 4 points a game, right? So it's not like we're going to get into Minnesota's covering numbers lately. They've been blowing teams out of the water.
6-0 ATS.
Yeah. But with Boston, like that's the thing I've kind of wrestled with in this one which is like you as a bettor from a power rating standpoint. Should this be the same number they were laying against Miami? Or have you upgraded Boston to the point where now we're here laying 13 against what I think is a better team than Miami? Not by much, but still a better team. So I think that's the thing I've wrestled with this game here against Cleveland.
Raheem Palmer, friend of the show.
Yep.
He wrote an article a couple years ago, and he retweeted it today.
I retweeted it too.
And he said, teams who come off a 7-game series are 33 and 54 in game 1 following series since 1988. That's straight up. Teams that win game 7 are still 36 and 51 straight up in the following series altogether.
Yeah, I would assume you win game 7 if you're in a series.
Yeah. So there you go. I don't know if that helps you, hurts you. Do you have anything on the Celtics series before we get into it?
Yeah, I did it.
Sweep?
Yeah, but plus 160. End in 4. Let's go.
So it was interesting. I was looking around.
I wanted something to cheer for in this series, you know?
Yeah, I wanted to discuss something, probably better off air, but as I was looking, I was trying to show you this app.
No, don't do this.
So Celtics win 4-0 at one shop in town is plus 170. At the same shop, they offer series to be decided in game 4 plus 205.
Series to be decided in game 4.
Yeah, so if you're betting, so Celtics 4-0 is plus 170. If that is the case, if that's your bet, why wouldn't you just bet series to be decided in game 4 plus 205?
Sure.
I was like, so just if your shops are offering you different expectations, like this was weird to me. So Celtics sweep 4-0 plus 170. Series sweep, win series 4-0 by either team. Yes, plus 220. So always look around. So I took a little bit of that. That was the best price that I saw at that particular shop, plus 220.
Way, I'll throw out there because my buddy actually asked me about that exact same thing. I'm not a super smart math person, but I think the layman's way to put it would be the reason why that's plus 220 is you're also factoring in a potential Cavaliers sweep, which is a very low probability event. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but the Celtics sweep was even shorter odds.
Right.
So, all right. Speaking of which, let's get to it. Let's get to our best bets.
I see you using an old style.
I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom.
Putting our money where our mouth is.
I like to live dangerously.
It's time for Best Bets.
Come on, Jerry, it's a lock.
All right, JVT, the floor is yours. By the way, for comical relief last night, we had on the show JVT tracking a flight that Rudy Gobert was not on, and you took the 7 with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I don't know if you've ever had an easier bet in your life.
I don't know if that was comic relief. I think that was all seriousness. So,
well, it made me laugh because when you put out the tweet and you made the bet, that's when the Rudy Gobert
like 60 seconds later,
immediately after. Yep. So, where do we stand right now with your best bets? And you've got some baseball bets now. You got a lot going on, so let's get to it.
Yeah, so obviously, you and I both, Timberwolves series price plus 180, still sitting on this. So go Timberwolves. I've got this Timberwolves futures to win the Western Conference back from November. So again, go Timberwolves. Let's see if we can pull this thing off. Still pending, of course, the Knicks minus 1.5 games at minus 125, up 1-0. Let's go Knicks. And then what starts tonight, which I cannot wait. We were all excited, of course, for Timberwolves Nuggets, which we rightfully should. We should be excited for Thunder Mavericks. These are two awesome teams. They're going to go at it. I cannot wait to see the intricacies of this matchup and what they're going to do to one another. I cannot wait. But Thunder series price minus 120, as we discussed yesterday. So, additions for today. We'll knock the bottom one off really quickly. This game starts while our show's on. Let's watch it. Rangers Hurricanes first period under 1.5 minus 120. I have no analysis. Johnny told us this is what I like, and I want to watch something, so let's do it. Now, for the others, we do have a little bit more. All right, Milwaukee Brewers at the Kansas City Royals. So we actually talked a little bit about this with Adam Burke yesterday when we had him on. If you remember, I had asked about Milwaukee's lineup because at this point right now, they're floating around like 4th, 5th in weighted runs created plus offensively. Look at like at the beginning of the season, especially like they were mashing like crazy. Looked like they were going to be one of the best lineups in Major League Baseball. But as Adam alluded to, they're kind of falling off a bit. And if you look at it, it does make sense. So they're actually currently 7th in weighted runs created plus for the season. However, since April 14th, they are 17th in weighted runs created plus. Since April 21st, Tim, they are 20th in WRC plus. The power has dipped. The lineup is not as effective. I'm going to get Seth Lugo here. Seth Lugo, he's got some signs of regression, but given the fact that, one, the lineup he's facing is regressing itself, and 2, the regression is not like super dramatic. He's got a 343 FIP, perfectly serviceable, very good command. Think he can navigate through this lineup that's not pitching very well. And we get to face a guy like Colin Ray, who is getting to start for Milwaukee. As I put it in the article today, much like Walter White in Breaking Bad, I don't think Colin Ray can keep getting away with this. If you look at some of the numbers for him, 478 FIP, 580 expected ERA, despite a 267 ERA and 33 2/3, he's striking out hitters at a career low rate. He ranks in the 9th percentile in whiff rate, 10th percentile in chase rate. He's not getting guys swing and miss. And bottom 7% of the league in expecting batting average and expected slugging. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try to fade Colin Ray here. Pitch to contact guys are kind of like my kryptonite because sometimes there's a lot of noise in the numbers, but it doesn't ultimately come to fruition. We're going to lay the half run at even money with the Royals. Also, Twins, minus a half run at minus 115. Like the Twins here in the spot with their lineup performing very well here. Bailey Ober's going to be on the hill. He's got some really strong signs, and I think he's pitching a lot better. I'm going to back him in a Twins lineup that over the last 3 weeks is one of the best in Major League Baseball. In fact, floating around 3rd in power, weighted runs created plus, and more. Let's do it.
All right, there we go. We got some baseball action tonight. Royals first 5, Twins first 5 as well. For me, nothing too much to add to the list, but we're going to go team first period under here. I asked Johnny Lazarus about this. Interesting to note, game 1, of course, you had 4 goals, 3-1 Rangers lead. Both these teams have played over quite a bit, but we'll see what adjustments have been made after game 1 between the Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes. So minus $1.20 here at Circa, first period under 1.5. We will ride with that together. And we'll know the outcome probably by the end of the second hour of the program. So
ride or die, bad boys for life.
I'm on the Timberwolves still. Going to hang on to that. And Knicks minus 1.5 games. So let me ask you this, JVT. I know the answer.
You ever seen Bad Boys?
You have a 30. Yes, the first one.
What?
You have a 30-1 ticket on the Minnesota Timberwolves to win the Western Conference. The Denver Nuggets, the defending world champs, are around plus $5 to come back and win the series. Will you hedge?
I did. I took a little plus 490 on the on the Denver Nuggets. Let's do it. We're in a comfortable spot now. Plus 490 was one where I'm like, all right, I could put a little on this and
Last night he said there were some expletives. Said he wasn't going to do it. I woke up this morning at 6 a.m. to a text from JVT saying, yeah, it was too good to
I saw that price. That was, yeah.
Mike Sanford. He's going to join us next here on VSiN PrimeTime.
Posh.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Check it out. You can bet $5, get $150 instantly in bonus bets when you sign up with the promo code VSiN only at DraftKings. Again, new customers, bet $5, get $150 instantly in bonus bets. DraftKings, crown is yours.
Before we get to our guest, and we will discuss this more at length in the top of the hour, it's been a running discussion on the network because a lot of people at the network had long shots on Victor Wembanyama to win Defensive Player of the Year. Well, he didn't. Rudy Gobert won and won convincingly, which is what we anticipated to happen. 72 first-place votes for Rudy Gobert, and he wins Defensive Player of the Year. So there you go. There you have it. He is your winner. We could discuss it more at length, but Let's not be rude to our guest who joins us right now on our progressive guest line. It is Mike Sanford, longtime offensive coordinator, most recently at Colorado, where he was the interim head coach. He is also a radio host in Denver on Altitude Sports. We right now are on Altitude Sports on the AM dial. So let's start with the Nuggets before getting into a little NFL chatter. How do they come out of this? What have you seen, Mike, these first two games? Because something seems off with the champs. The champs seem to be just in a bit of a funk right now.
I'd also like to add, are you okay? Because the last time we saw you, you were decked out in Nuggets gear. So I want to make sure you're good.
Yeah, it's been a dark day here in the Denver Metroplex, to say the least. A lot of gray tones are being worn in these parts. So, I think that this series so far, I was at game one. It was a strange start, 18-4 for the Nuggets. Had a deficit right out the gates. And, to be really candid, I mean, the Nuggets are just being outplayed right now by a better basketball team. But I do think that they still have the championship pedigree. I do think that Nikola Jokic is trying to figure out what the health of Jamal Murray is, what that two-man game looks like. And I do think a big part of it is Jamal Murray's his health. Is he just plugging through and playing through extreme amount of pain? He doesn't look nearly as explosive. But I think that there's got to be some adjustments made by Michael Malone and his coaching staff, particularly just breaking the press. I mean, it's been such a high pressure starting, early on in possessions. And the Nuggets just haven't been able to set their offense. So I think that this is going to be a game where, on Friday, nice little layoff, but I think it'll be a game where I do believe that the Nuggets are going to come out and they're going to, lick their wounds. They're going to come out and show that championship pedigree. I don't think it's any kind of fluke that in this series in the regular season, the two games were won by either team on the road. So I think that there's a chance the Nuggets can come out and play a good game on Friday.
Mike, what I'm surprised about, and I think you have some interesting insight on this, being a former head coach yourself, but in a different sport, what I was surprised by was the Nuggets got flapped, right? Like, I considered them unflappable, but that was a team that was complaining about officiating like the entire first half and let it get away from them. Jamal Murray's throwing things on the court. Mike Malone's charging refs. That's what I was most surprised by. Not them getting defended, whatever it was. They kind of fell apart mentally. Have you gotten any sense of, like, the team addressing that? What do you expect when they come back on Friday? Because to me, that was the most shocking aspect about last night.
You're exactly right, JVT. That was something that Nuggets fans haven't seen forever. And really probably to the Carmelo Anthony days, to be really honest. But I think it's just been a strange, really postseason altogether. Even the Lakers series was very uneven in terms of how the team was playing. But last night the frustration just boiled over. And listening to the post-game press conferences from Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray didn't even speak to the media 2 games in a row now. And then Aaron Gordon and Michael Malone. It does seem like there's definitely some turmoil going on in that locker room. So Michael Malone even said it yesterday. We'll have to see what the team looks like on Wednesday when we get back to practice. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of questions right now surrounding just the motivation and headspace of the Nuggets team right now.
We're talking to Mike Sanford here on VSiN PrimeTime. You can catch him on Altitude Sports Radio multiple times during the week with Chris Dempsey, who joined us on the program yesterday. So all things Altitude Sports Radio here. I do want to get into to the NFL realm. We've talked so much about the rookies on the offensive side of the ball, Mike, and how they fit in their potential landing spot. I just wanted to bring up Defensive Rookie of the Year and kind of get your early thoughts and of the fits that we see. So we got Dallas Turner going to Minnesota. He was believed to be, in the eyes of many, the top defensive player on the board. He went 17th to Minnesota. Laiatu Latu, I know someone that you coached against there at UCLA. He sits at 7-1. Quinyon Mitchell goes to the Eagles. The corner from Toledo, Jared Verse, goes to the Rams. Which defensive player did you like the fit the most, thinking back to the draft?
Well, I just go back to the video that was released by the Indianapolis Colts, almost chuckling the fact that Laiatu Latu is the guy that they had number 1 on their entire board. And the Indianapolis Colts were knocking on the door of being a playoff team. I think that Laiatu Latu goes into that situation with a good defense that's going to be surrounding him, an offense that should be improved. I think that he could be an impact player. If his health is what it's been, at least in the last year and some change at UCLA, he is the best technical pass rusher in this draft class. And by technical, I mean his technique is flawless. He's got a counter for everything that any college offensive lineman showed him. Laiatu Latu is going to be a really good pass rusher, and I can see him having that type of splash. Dallas Turner's another player that I loved at the Combine. He was the certified Combine freak. I do think there's going to be a bit of a learning curve, but I love the player. I love the twitch, the athleticism. I do think there's going to be a little bit of adjustment in terms of just finding his niche. How is he going to fit into the scheme in Minnesota? But those two would be the guys that I think are going to affect games the most in their rookie seasons. So I think the odds-on favorites are correct in that order. I would actually go with Terrion Arnold over Quinyon Mitchell because he's got the ability to get his hands on some interceptions. I think that Quinyon Mitchell is going to be a lockdown type corner, but his ball skills are definitely left a lot to be desired at Toledo and also at the Combine. He definitely is not going to be leading the NFL in interceptions anytime soon.
I just want to go back to Latu because you were at Colorado when you played UCLA. What challenges did you guys have facing someone like that? I know he was more productive his final year at UCLA, but still I think he had 10 sacks in 2022. So thinking back to that scout, what stood out the most about Latu back in 2022?
Well, you just knew that there was a level of pressure that you were going to be dealing with, and you had to have an answer. And as a coach, you got to go back and when you're game planning for a team, we were breaking in a true freshman quarterback, son of Josh McCown, Owen McCown now, who's going to be the starting quarterback at UTSA, and that was his first start. And so I think we wanted to make sure that we were chipping and using tight end help, running back help, and ultimately what that ends up hurting is your ability to get checkdowns and get a third or a fourth guy out in the routes. That's something that we had to account for with Laiatu Latu. He's that type of player that I think offensive coordinators are going to have to game plan for even as a rookie because he is so advanced in his technique as a rookie going into the Indianapolis Colts organization.
So you mentioned this, and I'm always curious about looking at it from this perspective. We always see offensive players, Mike, and it's easy to say, oh, player, fit, scheme, how are they going to... Defensively, when you look at some of these edge rushers, and you kind of alluded to it, what kind of a scheme is more beneficial? It's going to be an easier grace period for some of these rookies to enter. Would it be Latu where he's going in Indianapolis, or is there another defensive player that's got a scheme that you think they can fit into nicely and have success?
I think if you look at it, some of the 3-4 schemes that are employed by National Football League squads, like the edge rusher, sometimes they're going to be holding the point. As that extra player, they shift the front down. And so you don't know if you're going to be playing over a tight end, playing to the open side, because there is so much shifting and motioning on the offense side of the ball now that McVay made famous in Los Angeles. I think the 3-4 schemes, sometimes you don't get that type of, that type of just burst onto the seat as an edge rusher that you might in a true 4-down front. So that's something to certainly keep your eye on. But I just liked the reaction in Indianapolis, particularly Gus Bradley. He's a guy that knows what he wants to get, and he's going to employ Laiatu Latu because he said he's the best edge rusher, if not the best defensive player in this entire draft class. And shoot, he's available to us late teens, early 20s. It's very impressive. I think that he's going to be penciled in as a guy that's going to be getting after the quarterback on third downs, second and longs, and 2-minute situations.
Final minute here, Mike. Anything new, anything change in your opinion of Bo Nix to Denver now that we're, 2 weeks removed?
I wouldn't say too much. It's really interesting following all the different leaks that have happened internally, it seems like here in Denver, about the process and how, even Sean Payton, he duped the Minnesota Vikings to make them think that he wanted J.J. McCarthy, but I wanted Bo Nix all along. There's definitely a lot of narrative slinging that's going on. I think Bo Nix is a tremendous young man. I think he's very smart. But I just wonder about his ability to make those big-time throws at the National Football League level that you have to make. That's not changing anytime soon. I trust my eyes.
Mike, always appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, gentlemen.
There he is. Mike Sanford, longtime offensive coordinator and most recently interim head coach of Colorado. You can also catch him on Altitude Sports Radio there in Denver. That's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Tim Murray. No Jarrett Allen tonight. Final analysis on Cavs Celtics before tip in Beantown. Next.